In December 1996, a French woman traveled to her holiday home in the remote hills of West Cork Island. She never left alive. Sophie Toscan du Plantier, 1957 to 1996. Sophie Toscan du Plantier was a filmmaker, a mother, and a woman full of imagination and ambition. But her brutal murder would become one of the most infamous unsolved cases in Irish history. One covered in newspapers, podcasts, and eventually documentaries. Today, we're exploring the Netflix docu-series, Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, not just for what it reveals about the case, but for how it confronts the ethics of true crime storytelling. Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, A True Crime Reckoning. Part 1. The Victim in Focus. Sophie Toscan du Plantier was many things. A respected TV producer in France, a passionate thinker, and a woman who cherished solitude and the wild nature of her Irish retreat. On December 20th, 1996, Sophie arrived in West Cork for a quiet Christmas. 3 days later, she was found dead at the foot of her driveway. She had suffered over 50 injuries, including repeated blows to the head. There were no signs of forced entry, no DNA evidence, just Sophie's body and endless questions. From the beginning, the media descended. This wasn't just a crime. It became a mystery, a myth, and a spectacle. Part 2. The prime suspect, Ian Bailey, 5 to 8:30. Images and clips of Ian Bailey over the years. Press interviews, courtroom footage. Enter Ian Bailey, a journalist and poet who covered Sophie's murder from the beginning. Too closely, some believed. Locals described him as strange, dramatic, erratic. Then a woman came forward claiming she saw him near Sophie's home that morning. Bailey became the chief suspect, but he was never convicted in Ireland. Years later, a French court found him guilty in absentia. Yet he remains a free man. In Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, Bailey is interviewed extensively. He speaks calmly, even chillingly, about the case. And while his inclusion offers a complex portrait, it also raises questions. Why do we spend so much time on the suspect and so little on the woman whose life was taken? Take a true crimes problem with women. 8:30 to 12. Let's talk about the true crime genre. For decades, murdered women have been at the center of some of the most watched media in the world. From The Night Stalker to Making a Murderer, to the Ted Bundy tapes. Too often, these stories focus more on killers than victims. Women are flattened into tropes: the beautiful, the broken, the dead. Their final moments dramatized for views, their lives reduced to narrative tension. But Netflix's Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, tries something different. And that effort starts with her family. Part 4. Reclaiming the Narrative, 12 to 16. Frédéric Gazot, Sophie's cousin, helped produce the Netflix series. He made 3 specific requests. Give Sophie equal space in the story, don't show her body, and treat the case with dignity. Talk about emotions rather than evidence. These decisions shift the tone. Instead of voyeurism, we get intimacy. Instead of sensationalism, we see a woman's humanity. Sophie is remembered as a mother, an artist, a dreamer, not just a victim. We learn about her love of literature, her desire for stillness, her ambition as a producer, and the bottomless grief left in her absence. Part 5. What the series gets right and wrong. Sophie, A Murder in West Cork is far from perfect. Its choice to give so much screen time to Bailey risks returning to the old tropes. And like many true crime series, it walks a fine line between information and dramatization. But its strengths are in its restraint, in refusing to show Sophie's body, in respecting her family's voice, and in remembering the woman behind the case. True crime is not going away, but how we tell these stories matters. Sophie Toscan du Plantier deserved dignity. Her story deserves justice. And if nothing else, we must remember. Every headline hides a human life. Sophie. A Murder in West Cork is streaming now on Netflix. To support victims of violence, visit relevant resources. Women's Aid Ireland, RAIN, etc. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Let's change the way we talk about true crime. One story at a time. True crime isn't just a niche interest anymore. It's a global phenomenon. Entire streaming platforms, podcasts, TikTok accounts, and YouTube channels are devoted to murder, mystery, and the macabre. True crime is one of the top 3 podcast genres worldwide. Spotify, 2024. But this obsession begs the question, what are we really consuming? Stories of injustice or entertainment disguised as empathy? Clips of dramatic reenactments, over-the-top music and camera work from other documentaries. Too many shows still frame these stories with horror movie aesthetics. Victims are often sidelined, used as setup for twists, suspects, and courtroom drama. The goal becomes suspense, not sensitivity. Visual. Sophie's family quietly reflecting in an interview, contrasted with fictionalized true crime scenes. The creators of Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, chose not to participate in this tradition. Instead, they refocused the lens, not on a monster, but on a woman who was taken from her family far too soon. Part 7. Media responsibility. Images of crime journalists, podcast studios, content creators covering murders on YouTube or TikTok. As media makers, storytellers, and viewers, we all play a role in shaping how these stories are told. So the question becomes, how can we do better? Bullet points fade in, one by one. Center the victim's life, not just their death. Collaborate with the families if possible. Avoid sensationalism. No body shots, no reenactments. Respect trauma, don't exploit it. Ask, who is this story really for? These guidelines aren't just ethical, they're necessary. Because every time a real person's suffering becomes content, we risk turning tragedy into entertainment. We risk forgetting there are real families still grieving. Part 8. A Lasting Legacy, 27 to 29. Fade into photos of Sophie smiling, her son as a child, her home in France and in Ireland. More than 2 decades after her death, Sophie's case remains unsolved. Her family continues their search for justice, not just in the courts, but in how the world remembers her. I didn't want this to be a voyeuristic project. I wanted people to see her as a woman, not just a victim. That's the heart of this story. Not the twist, not the suspect, but Sophie, a mother, a filmmaker, and a woman whose memory deserves more than headlines. Closing message. Montage of candles lit in vigil, landscape of West Cork at sunset, Sophie's family walking by the ocean. Justice isn't always found in a courtroom. Sometimes it's found in how a story is told, and who we choose to center in that story. In memory of Sophie Toscan du Plantier, 1957 to 1996. We remember her life, not just her death. If you found this video meaningful, please consider sharing it, subscribing for more ethical true crime storytelling, and supporting the organizations that help victims of violence around the world. Women's Aid Ireland RAIN, Rape, Abuse and Incest National Network, support for victims of crime. You. Thank you for watching.